excited to share with you guys a little bit of what we shared with at what we were shared with us at Superstar Director Summit. We had the event last week and it was a lot of fun. Seemed to go by really fast, but we had some really good trainings and just insights from home office that we wanted to share with you tonight. So I'll go ahead and share first. And I was deciding between a few different things. And I think that I'm going to share a little bit about what Chuck shared with us last week. So if any of you who are sharing, we're going to share that. I apologize, but it's okay. We can duplicate. So he talked a lot about bringing value to the world and how we as Sensei consultants can do that. How can we bring value to the world in the world that we live in now? And the quote that he shared that really stuck out to me was, "It's not about you. Don't be entitled. Your life and your journey is not about you." That was like the main thing he shared, which I thought was really intriguing, because our life really is our life, right? So you would think it's about us, but when you think about it, when he said your life and your journey is not about you, what does that mean? It means it's about other people. It's about helping others, bringing value to their life, encouraging them, and doing everything that you can to help them, which made me think that's completely the arrows out, right? Where you have the focus is on me versus the focus is on others. So thinking about the value that you see in others versus what you think about yourself, or being so self-consumed, if that makes sense. He also talked about how our hearts need to be open to change. There's things constantly changing all around us in all different aspects of business, in life, and everything. And you have to be open and willing to change and able to grow and to be able to flourish and become the best leader that you possibly can, or consultant that you possibly can. He also shared the quote that Orville shares this story. Let's see if I can find it really quick. Orville shares this story about how he used to go to the mall and he would go and look for posters in a poster store, and his mother was mortified that her kids would go in this place. So Orville went in and he bought a poster, and it's a quote by Albert Einstein. And you may have heard Orville share this quote, but he said the quote is, "Try not to become a person of success, but rather try to become a person of value." So realizing, try not to be a person of success, but become a person of value, thinking about that, it's really telling, because a lot of times in the business world, we chase success, right? But instead of doing that, think about bringing value. How can what we sell, what we share, the opportunity with people, how can that bring value to people's lives? And I think that when we figure that out, when we really understand that idea, we can really grow and we can change and we can flourish, and we can kind of takes the focus off of ourselves and puts it on everybody else, which I love. I loved that he shared that. He talks about 3 things that you can do to help bring value to people and in the world: through your generosity, through your time, and through compliments. So you can give compliments, you can give your time, and you can give your generosity. So every day we should be doing something in those three categories: complimenting people, giving our time to someone or something that we're trying to bring value to, and then be generous in our giving. I think that that is really important for us to understand, that generosity is just a way of life. I don't want to brag about myself because I don't, so I'm not going to, but I think of other leaders and other consultants that I have worked with for 15 years now, and the generosity that they give to me through various things. I think it brings value to my life. So think about that as you work with customers and as you connect with your customers, bringing value to their life, being generous in whatever it is, like whether you're giving light bulbs to a customer and you've got a few different goodies in there, some samples, that's being generous. So thinking of customers, thinking of your team, thinking of family, thinking of friends, neighbors, you name it. That is a huge part of it. And when with that comes time, right? Because when we do things for other people, that consumes our time. And that's just kind of the circle that goes round and round and round. He also talked about unconditional love and a forgiving heart. So when you think about unconditional love, I mean, does anything pop into your mind? Drop it in the chat. When you think of unconditional love, what do you think of? So unconditional love, Chelsea said, my children, my kids. Yep, exactly. Wow, that got really bright. Sorry. So unconditional love is known as affection without any limitations, or love without conditions. So it's a term that we use that has no limits, and there are no conditions. No matter what, that love you have for that person or that experience or whatever will be forever. So how can we have unconditional love? We love the products that we sell, right? A lot of you said your kids, loving my kids, my babies, not expecting anything in return. I love that, Maria. I think that is huge. So think about unconditional love in your life, but also in business and what that looks like. Unconditionally loving your customers, even though they might have some quirky things that you kind of don't like, or they're maybe extra needy, or maybe you have a team member that is, I don't know, just maybe you're not connecting like you would like to. But you have to look past those things and continue to have that unconditional love. So when you think of the words forgiving heart, what do you think of? What comes to mind? Put it in the chat. So forgiveness is more about the softening of your heart towards someone who's wronged you, rather than any particular action or word. Okay. So it's a state of your heart, a forgiving heart filled with love instead of bitterness. So forgiving heart, you have to have, like Stephanie and Missy said, no grudges, acceptance. I love that, Betty. Softening your heart to someone in any situation is what that means. And how do you do that? I think is peaceful. I love that, Jess. How do you get a forgiving heart? Like, how do you, it's really hard to forgive people who've wronged you or who have talked not nicely about you or have done some things to you that maybe impacted you and your family. But it's part of us bringing value to the world is forgiving and not holding those grudges. So a way you can do that is through knowing what forgiveness is and why it matters. Why does it matter to forgive? Why does it really, how does that impact you mentally, physically sometimes, and emotionally, what that matters and what that looks like? You have to become forgivingly fit. Like that's a process where you practice becoming forgiving and then address the inner pain. You can't just like never think of it again because you always will, but you have to address the issue or whatever it is that is hurting you. And then develop a forgiving mind through empathy, showing compassion to those that have maybe wronged you. Maria said that lack of forgiveness can make you sick in your body. I totally believe that. It can consume you. So you have to think, is it worth it? Is me holding this grudge or this not forgiving, is it gonna, it's gonna physically ail me? Is it worth it? Is it worth those physical ailments to not forgive? So when it's hard, because it's hard, I mean, we've all probably been there where it's hard to forgive. But when it is, you can call upon others for strength. You can reach out to those around you that might be able to offer support and help and lean on them because that's important for us to do. So the last two things that he shared that I think that are very, very important to share with you is one, that we can't let Cincy become the world. Does that make sense? We can't let Cincy become the world. We have to be at a higher standard. We have to be at a higher level and make it that much better. We can't lower the bar of the Cincy standard, if you will. Okay. And then the last thing that he shared, which this was in no particular order, so don't think this was my favorite thing, but it says, he said, never fall in love with something that you don't own. So think about that. Not falling in love with something that you don't own. I think that that is really telling because really when it comes down to it, we don't own anything, right? I mean, we may physically own things, but I don't own you as business people in business, right? No one owns each other. But we do have this connection that lifts each other up and where we can help each other grow and become better people and bring value to the world through our business and through what we love in business. And I just think that there are so many people looking for light in their days, and you can be that light. You can be that generous heart that's giving compliments or spending time with people and just loving others. You can be that light for others. So make sure that you take the time and the energy and the effort to do just that. So that's kind of what Chuck said. And I think that he did a great job of sharing his heart as he always does when he speaks to us. So yeah, that's all I have for my little takeaway from Summit last week. So who wants to share now?
Hey, I'm going to piggyback on you if you don't care.
I do not.
because the thing that stuck out to me was the part of don't fall in love with something you don't own. So Chuck shared about how his dad was to earn, when his grandfather passed away, the siblings were going to split a part of their farm. And all his dad wanted was not the farm. He wanted this little part of land up in the mountains. It was just who he was. It was part of, he had worked this part of the farm when his brother had gone away, and his dad he had cultivated the land. Well, before Chuck's grandma passed away, the brother took the whole farm and got the whole farm. And Orville and Chuck's dad didn't get anything. He just lost his dad, lost his farm and everything. And Chuck distinctly remembered, like, why are you not so mad at your brother? He wronged you. Why are you not just furious? And his dad said to him, don't fall in love with anything that you don't own. He never owned it. It would have been a gift from his parents. Would it have been nice? Yes. Did it make or break who he was? No, because his family mattered and he already had a new livelihood in the sheep farm. And so he like really honed in on this, and it really resonated, I think, with a lot of us leaders, because we are in a world in the direct selling industry that is super competitive, that I often tell my group about the Sensi celebrity status. You're chasing accolades in a business, you're chasing recognition, you're chasing a tribe. I mean, we've all heard it, right? And it's not just in our business, it's probably less in our business, larger within the direct selling industry, because people are just chasing this. You get to be in charge of how far you go in business, right? And you're never content. You're always chasing that next thing, which there's a healthy part of you to chase your future, but oftentimes people do it in a manic way of like getting there as fast as you can because you're better if you've done it in a faster amount of time, rather than like what Lindsay said, like, if you don't fall in love with something you don't own, but you sit where you're at today and you really embrace and enjoy every step of the way, you really learn to love your journey and how unique it is to you. A lot of people get really down in this business if they don't have a large enough downline, or they haven't recruited enough, or they haven't sold enough, because they compare themselves to others. And I was gifted this really nice card, and it said, today may there be peace within. May you trust you are exactly where you're meant to be. May you not forget the infinite possibilities that you were born, that are born of faith in yourself and in others. May you use the gifts that you have received and pass on that love that has been given to you. May you be content with yourself just the way you are. Let this knowledge settle into your bones and allow your soul the freedom to sing, dance, praise, and love. It is there for each and every one of us. And I sat around a lot of the week. I am talking just a minute. I sat around a lot of the week, embracing the people around me. We did this table discussion where I sat at a table of strangers and I had to write my name on a paper and they had to describe me just based on what they knew from the 8 hours that they had met me. And we all started sobbing. I mean, things that I don't know how they can be that transparent were very truthful and very telling of how others see me. And we tend to be people who don't love ourselves well, and we fall in love with things that aren't. We fall in love with the idea of where we want to be, or the idea of what we think is successful. But if you fall in love with the idea that you're here to make a difference, off of what Chuck was saying, rather than chasing the thing and being so driven about wherever you're trying to go in business, but if you fall in love with where you're at today and why you're here and what it is that you're to learn, but also what it is that you're to give the world around you, it changes your perspective in everything. Like, we have this amazing company. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about the other thing that is sharing around Amazon and stuff. And our company stands in a league of its own compared to other network marketing companies. I know how often it's frustrating that we follow the rules or that we have such high expectations of ourselves. But I sat there just being so thankful that we have a company of leaders that really challenge us to run our businesses with integrity. Because I can tell you right now, if you do not run your business with integrity and you fall in love with the things that are not yours yet, or you carry ownership of your downline or ownership of like, your business will literally come crashing down. I promise. And if you think of just your journey and what you're going to learn along the way, and you learn to embrace it and really fall in love with it, perspective changes everything. And all of a sudden, business is better than ever because people fall in love with somebody who's happy. They want to do business with somebody they know that runs their business with integrity, and they want to see why you love what you do. And so everything changes in a very quick moment.
Can I piggyback off that just really quick? I'm going to be brief. But kind of like what Bree was saying is one of my takeaways was everything that they both said, but also the imposter syndrome. And I never had really heard of that except recently when I'm reading a book called Believe It. And it kind of opened my eyes, and it made me realize that there's a lot of people that suffer from imposter syndrome. And so for me, I was thinking, and taking that to reaching out to my downline who maybe feel like they're not enough, they're not good enough, they don't deserve this, and just help, like Bree said, sharing the light and being that light for someone else. My son just recently went to high school, and he didn't understand. He wanted to go, and I keep telling him every day, because he's miserable right now, and I keep telling him, you know what, you were put there for a reason, be the light. And that's the exact same thing in our business. Is we can't compare ourselves to anyone else. We can't be anyone else. We have to be authentically us for us to be able to for us to be able to fully be fulfilled in life. I hope that makes sense, but just reaching for more and just be you. And you know what, there's so many videos and so many ideas and everything out there. So take the ideas and make them yours, but don't feel like you have to be everything and do everything. Just do you. Anyway, that's all I have.
I love that. Thanks, Kano. All right, who wants to share next? Veronica, you want to go?
Okay. I loved everything about last week. The best part for me was just being around other people, like-minded people, and to know that we all at some point or another felt the same way or feel the same way, or were in a certain situation, or felt like we weren't enough, but being there, we are enough, and that's everybody. And I love that Sensi home office. They make you feel that way. Like they truly appreciate everything that all of us do. And it's not just superstar directors. It's, from people that just joined and all the way up to superstar directors. And when you're around them, you truly feel that it makes you want to come back and do more. It makes you want to come back and you really do feel proud of what you're doing. It's not just selling Sensi, it's so much more than that. The one moment for me though was, Bree just talked about it, was, we were sitting at our table and you write your name on a card and everybody just kind of passed it around and wrote a word or two of what they saw or thought of when they saw you. And these people, most of the people on my table I didn't know except for one. And it was very heartwarming to know that that's what people thought, because we all worry about what people think. We all worry about what people are going to say, especially when you're around people that you don't really know. And to hear those words was like, wow. And I know that there's been a meme that goes around on Facebook, and it says, when you think of me, what do you think of? And I thought, I could never post that. I don't want that attention on myself. But you know what? If you need that lift, why not? Why not ask people what they think of? Don't be embarrassed, because we are our worst enemies. I'm sorry, stop. We are our worst enemies sometimes. And when you hear what people think of you, it's like, wow, you know what? They're right. We need to give ourselves credit. We need to give ourselves more credit because sometimes we don't. So that was my part that I absolutely loved. And of course, being able to hug and see everybody and be around everybody, that was by far the best. But that was
Love that. Thanks, Veronica. Who else is on? Bonnie, you want to share? Or did she jump off? Thought she was on here. She may have jumped off. I'll share another thing that I thought was pretty awesome.
Lindsay Kelly.
Kelly Alexander's on.
Oh, good. She just got on, Kelly. You want to share something, Kelly Alexander, that you learned last week or that you really loved about Summit?
Bree, I'm gonna hurt you. I'm just kidding. I just got on a bit ago. I mean, like literally like a minute ago. So I don't know what y'all all talked about, but I did want to say, there are times when a lot of us will get frustrated with something that comes up in the news tab or something that's happening when we're placing orders or, any little thing can really get people upset. But just know that really behind the scenes, Cincy is working really, really hard for us. And they're never going to do anything to harm your business. They're just going to do things to make it better. That's going to be more beneficial to us in the long run. So just keep that in mind because, I really feel like lately, this has been happening for years, but the smallest little change of something and everybody kind of freaks out. I have myself included on a couple things too. So just know that they're not going to change something that's going to hurt our business. They're really trying to make things better in our businesses. So just kind of take that to heart. And when things change, just look at the bigger picture instead of that specific change right then. You know what I mean? So that's what I wanted to say.
Awesome. Thank you, Kelly.
Welcome.
All right. So we'll see if Bonnie jumps back on. But in the meantime, Bree, did you have anything else you wanted to share? You just kind of piggybacked. Did you want to share another part of it?
No, I loved that. I honestly, it was what I was going to share. So I just felt like I should transition since you had shared it at the end.
Okay. So another part that I really loved. So on the last day, Cincy has partnered with, and you guys speak up because I probably am going to botch the name, the Wasmith Center. Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
It's in Boise. It is an Anne Frank Memorial. And the guy that oversees it, he came and talked to us, and he and someone else, I feel like, who was it that talked about stories? Was it Sydney and Marlowe? Yeah, so Sydney and Marlowe shared some stories. So this guy kind of circled back to the stories and how our stories connect us to people and how we can be connected to people through their stories. And that was kind of the theme of this monument. It's the stories that these people have experienced in their lives, and they're sharing them through figures, through trees, through words on the wall, through beautiful artwork. And it's really neat because that was the whole point of this whole, I feel like that was the underlying commonality through our whole week at Summit was stories. And Deb, that first day, as Veronica said, how we were supposed to go around the table and talk. When we did that exercise before, we had gone around the table and talked and shared our story, or to find something that we had in common with each other. Some of them were super surface, like we all like the color yellow, and some of them were a little bit more deep, like we all have a childhood trauma or things like that. But that's what connect us to each other. So our stories is what connects. So he says, come together to discover the commonality in our stories. So as we come together with Sensi, we all have a story to tell. We all have a story of how we got connected to Sensi and how that story has propelled us to move forward in life and in business. So we have to discover the meaning behind the space that we're in, meaning like where we're at in our life, and discover that meaning behind it and what we're supposed to learn from it. I mean, he was really deep. Like it was 8 o'clock in the morning. We were all super tired, but he was very, I mean, some of the things he shared were very profound. One being that our stories matter. Every single one of you on this call, your story matters. And there is something that is going to connect me with you, and Bree with Sally, and Susie with Patricia. In some way, shape, or form, you're going to be connected through your story. And you can't let your story hide. You have to share your story. And what that looks like is different for everybody, because some of us are a little bit more introverted, some of us are a little more extroverted, and some of us are more social media, and some of us are not on social media. So everybody's is going to be different. And that's the great thing about it, is that it can be. You can share your story how you would like to share it, and it will be just as amazing. One thing that he also shared is that words matter. I've shared this many times. My husband is like, this is like his favorite quote. That's what I'm going to put on his gravestone when he dies. Words matter. Words matter. It's already planned. No, I'm just kidding. It's not. But the words we choose to say, that's right, Veronica. The words we choose to say matter. And so think about that when you are sharing your story, when you're sharing your heart, or when you're sharing an experience with someone. Be intentional and be thinking about what you're saying before you say it. And then you might think twice about what you say and how you word it, so that you can come across, so that you're bringing value to the world, right? And you're uplifting people. He also talked about not being a bystander and to be an upstander. So a bystander is like someone who just watches things happen, right? Where you sit back and you kind of just watch the chaos happen. And being an upstander would be someone who gets up and tries to impact or influence or change the story or whatever is happening in that moment. Whether it's someone's getting hurt, whether it's someone's being teased, whether someone's being bullied, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But we can be an upstander. We can stand up and we can bring value to the world through our heart and our stories and what we have discovered in our life. He also talked about listening more, how we should open our ears and take time to listen, have conversations, not confrontations, and listen. And I thought that was really, really important. And to think, what actions can I take? What actions can I take to help bring value to the world? What actions can I take to help connect with Belle? What can I do to connect with you better through our stories, and what that looks like? So as we connect with customers, as we connect with team members, as we connect with upline, sidelines, whatever, our goal ultimately should be to come together to find a commonality. And once that's established, you build on that, and your relationship will only grow and flourish more and be that much more amazing because of it.
Well, and one thing I want to share too from that morning, it was a very hard way to start our day, because we are living in a culture currently, nobody is exempt to it. Our culture is so divisive. The world is divisive, whether you're pro this, anti that, it does not matter what it is. The world and social media people are keyboard warriors and they say what they want to say, but when you get in a room together with people, most of us in those rooms thought very differently from one another. And we were all instantly like, okay, I've lived in Idaho a majority of my life. I had no idea that Idaho is the like one place in the world where we have an Anne Frank memorial, and we're like world known for this. I had no idea it existed. And it's a beautiful monument that we walked through. And I didn't, I'm the worst. Okay. I thought Puerto Rico might have been in region 2 for a minute. So there was a joke about me being an idiot all week, but like I didn't know a ton about Anne Frank either. And she was held captive for 2 years in hiding while she like in a very small space with several other people, and they share a bit of her like we're so mad that we have to isolate or social distance or have stay in place orders, and yeah, they're super crappy, but she did it for 2 years. It was life or death, and she ultimately died when she came out. And so like to hear and read her story, and she has made such an impact decades later, we all sat there just super humbled that we're such an entitled country, an entitled world, and how dare we think the world owes us our freedom, like especially in the United States. We are like a don't you dare tell me what to do nation, right? And so it was very humbling to like sit there and really think like nobody owes us a freaking living. Like no, like you got to work hard for what you get, but like be humble and be generous. And the things that aligned with our company, the authenticity, generosity, simplicity, it's treating others kindly. It's like what Lynn, it's your words matter, and you can use your words to lift people up or you can tear them down. So it was super like, I'm on a mission. Like, we're going to collaborate. We're going to connect. We are not going to be a divisive company or country or community. Like if I have anything to do with it, I'm so fired up at being anti culture of what we currently are living in to just bring others back together. Anyway,
Love
carry
it.
on.
So the last thing I want to share before we go, and Bree, you might be able to remember this story, or Veronica or Kelly. I am really bad with remembering stories. This was Deb. She started talking and she talked about the secret of life. Do you remember that story that she shared? No? She said, I know, I don't remember the context. Do you remember, Veronica?
No, but I was gonna, when was this? Maybe I can remember.
This was like the first day. It was Deb Bowden. She talked about the secret of life, or the secret of leadership, she said. And it's one thing. And the one thing is that you have to figure it out. You've got to figure it out, right? Just one thing. That's the secret. You have to figure it out, which is kind of interesting. It's like, tell me the secret. Well, it's your job to figure it out. She talks
That's
about
because
life.
the very secret is unique to each of you.
Yes.
Yeah. I do kind of remember, sorry, Brie, I kind of remember that. And it was like, that's the one purpose we have, is to figure it out. Like, that's what we're here to do, is figure it out, like, for ourselves. So I now that you started talking about that, I do remember that.
Yeah. So she goes on to talk about how life is really simple, but we insist on making it complicated. We just, everything we touch, it's just our basic human nature to overcomplicate everything. Anything we do, we overcomplicate it. So our opportunity is to get over the complexity of the situation or of whatever it is in life. We have to keep it simple, and we have to resist the urge to add more. Keep it simple, reduce and remove the excess in life. And I think that as you do that, you will find more happiness, and you will be able to bring more value to the world. you personally showing up more authentically as you, think in any given situation, what do I, say your name, want to do? What do I want to do? And then do it. Because guess what? You're never going to regret doing that thing that you wanted to do. You most likely will regret not doing it. So you have to be proactive. You have to bring value to the world through those actions that you do. And you will find all the joy and happiness that you can possibly find. The cool thing about Scentsy is that we can all go to events, and this is across the board, whether it's World Tour, Scentsy Family Reunion, you name it. We all find and hear something and receive it differently than the person next to us. But the thing is that we have to make sure that we take what we learn. And this day of training that we had was kind of a uplifting and just inspirational day. We didn't talk nitty-gritty business tools, practices, anything of that sort, no systems of any sort. It was purely lifting us up and helping us build the belief within ourselves and making us think outwards versus inwards. And I love that about Scentsy because they are always so good at sharing and helping us be better and helping us do better. So remember,
what's funny is that it's always at the time we need it.
yes,
You know, it's like they
always.
know when we need it, and there they are coming in clutch over there.
Yep, always, always. So with that, I'm going to end the recording and then we're going to open it up for Q&A. So let's see. Stop recording. Why can I not see it?